Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Friday morning where we're reckless as can be. The camera is acting up all kinds of weird stuff today. Where's the mug? You can't even see the mug. Yes, it's been a rough morning, to say the least, and we're only like 3 minutes in. Even the prep was kind of like a mess. But Gally's here. What's happening?
Technical difficulties, and we invite Gally. It's about as reckless as a Friday can get.
Yeah, well, now you can see the mug right here. There we go. Reckless. Thursday, Alan in the comments. First one's in as always. Good morning, gentlemen. If you're in there, hit the like right away. Should match the number of people in the lobby, ideally, in an ideal scenario. But it doesn't always happen, obviously. But hit the thumbs up, and hopefully we'll gather more in as we go. As you welcome everybody, a lot of headlines to go on over here. Yeah, why are you rocking a Newcastle training top?
This is blue, people, not black. It's
Blame the lighting.
No, there is no team affiliate on this thing. I just figured, in honor of August 1st, in honor of bringing the Adidas kits out and maybe talking about what is the inevitable meltdown that will happen when Liverpool supporters see a new kit. All I heard for 15 years was, get me Adidas, get me Adidas. Adidas came back, and all I heard is, why are we wearing black shorts? They look like effing United uniforms. Chill, people. Chill. The champions are going to wear them. They don't look anything like a United uniform if a champion is in it in 2025.
All United fans are really excited about the preseason, by the way, because they beat Bournemouth 4-1 and stuff. But okay, let me ask you this for my sanity. Please tell me there's not a matching bottom you're wearing at the moment with that, like the cheap Italian mafia look going. Do you have the matching pants on right now?
No.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
I do own a pair. I think, of blue Adidas pants, but to be totally fair, this is such an old training top that I had that I probably wore when I was still playing about 20 years ago, and I won't get rid of it. It's falling apart in different spots because I love it so much. So Kelly has made me promise that I'll only wear it inside unless she goes away for the weekend, and then I wear it out.
Oh, John says, how about that kit launch? Yeah, let's talk about that. The kit launch thing it's that time of year where this stuff really gets to me. Because last time it was all about the freaking Nike does the same thing for all kits, and everybody was so happy we got Adidas. And then Adidas basically makes the same kits in different colors and says, here you go. I made 3 kits for you. But I think Adidas has that thing going where, I'll ask you that. Will that wear off after the first season? There's a lot of like nostalgia with the 3 stripes, Adidas, and all that kind of stuff. Will that wear off for next season? Will they get away with doing? It's a very plain Adidas jersey at the end of the day. But because of it's Adidas, you can kind of like get away with it because of that. Do you think that wears off next year? What do you think of the jerseys, first of all?
So I like them. I'm not. I will say, when I saw them this morning on the players and I watched the crazy social media video of the girl standing in the store and then kind of getting sucked into the dinner, and Mo Salah's sitting with Fowler and Fowler and Kara, and they have the mix of the legends, the women's players. Like Matu said it in Discord, the social media team at Liverpool, we're biased, but they are out of this world. Like that video was outstanding. Yes. And it made me excited about the nostalgia of the 3 stripes being back. I know I'm wearing it right now. I'm not a long sleeve kit person. I had one once and I did not enjoy it, so I'll never buy another one. But I will say, seeing Mo Salah wearing one and Florian Wirtz wearing one was kind of cool, because it reminded me back of like Torres wearing them and just like the nostalgia of our side playing in the Adidas kits. I think they will go back to 2 traditional, 1 kind of off the cuff, non-template each year, just so that they keep the energy going and so people buy new kits. I think it was very smart of them to come with throwback kits in their first relaunch, and a crisp red one, a lot of white in it on the sleeves, the arms, the stripes. The away kit is interesting, and I'm excited to see the actual real versions of the green one. I don't know that I'll buy one this year because I bought a couple the last couple of years, and I've been saying I would stop buying kits every single season. But we'll see. I also said I wouldn't buy 5 microphones for this podcast, and I have over the last.
They're like everywhere, coming down from the
Yeah.
sky.
Exactly.
No,
And
I
still
don't
no one
know. I
listens.
think it's a matter of, I think, like KG Zaki says, they were horrible in 08 and on, but the nostalgia is Adidas, especially for, I think, us people our age. I think it's kind of like represented the game for the most part, including the cleats and stuff like that. I mean, basically that was the thing. I know like Puma was big when I was growing up as well, for like the world of soccer or whatever, but soccer, football, whatever you call it. But I know like Adidas to everyone, I think, has that. The 3 stripes, like I say, going back to the old cleats and stuff like that, has that's going like it's football, like to somebody especially like my age, going back those years. I think it automatically is football, so the nostalgia parts comes from that. Like, yeah, no, it's not like I don't see Reebok and be like, oh, football. I know the jersey and I get that, but I'm not, when I say nostalgia, nostalgia does not mean good memories. Nostalgia means like of the olds. That's yeah.
And they were the kit sponsors from 85 to early 90s when they were the most dominant team in Europe. And also from 06, 07, where they made runs to the Champions League finals and had other great seasons of high-end competition. For me, it was more the players. That period of Torres wearing it, like the period, Gerrard kind of coming up to the ascend as well after the 05, and then in 06, 07, 08 through 2010. And let's be honest, it ushered in the Warriors and I did like the New Balance kits as well, but it ushered in a period of time when no one really cared.
There we go. See, we got Newcastle people over here. What's going on, man? Welcome up to Mags.
Welcome aboard. You may not love this.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit over here. So stick around. We'll definitely talk about Isak and the bid and stuff. Ozan says I always get at least one home shirt every season, just one. I honestly the opposite. I rarely get the home kits. It's very rare because I mean, they've been only so many little variations of it. So usually get like the second or the third because that's a different one. Not this year. It's just a matter of picking color. So I'm probably gonna go with the green one. Depends on how green, but at least it'll be different. So it'll probably be like the third kit. Yeah, I mean, Ozan says when I see the 3, when I see stripes on the long sleeves, I think of Peter Crouch scoring bicycle kick goals. Yeah, it's like in that sense, it's that. But I'm going back to like Mateusz was talking about earlier, like people bitching about Nike using templates and not saying anything right now is like, come on, man, like seriously, like it's like a template. They just like pressed it onto different ones in different color, but every year it's the same thing. It's so much of a taste kind of an ordeal, I feel like, that I think it's a matter of what you like. I mean, especially the second and third kits, people fight over it so much, and it's almost like fighting over like what's your favorite color. It just doesn't make sense. What I like you might not like. At the end of the day, this is why they keep changing it. If anybody is my freaking age, used to have the same kits every goddamn year. I mean, Fenerbahce, when I was growing up as a kid, played with the classic stripes. Ironically, Fenerbahce just switched over to Adidas as well from Puma, and their first release, I actually shared the video, which was cool as hell, by the way, in our Discord way back when they announced the Adidas Kit Lounge, and they went back to the original stripe with the Adidas because that was old school, and that's where the whole nostalgia thing comes from. But at the end of the day, you said you're not gonna buy any, but I guarantee you will buy at least one. Depends on how the season goes.
I probably will buy one of the kits at some point this year out of either like jealousy when I go to a pub and I see people wearing them, or I want one. What I will say is I deliberately have not gone online yet because what I've seen from the entire line, there is far too many things that I will buy as far as like pullovers, zip-up,
gotcha.
training gear. The gear is really, really nice. And yeah, I'm excited. Even like I saw the like LFC red and white sneakers, and
okay, are
really
they red with white or white with red?
They're white with red, and they have both, but the white with red ones are fire. I
I
think
might be able
Florian
to get
Wirtz
away with
was,
white with red. I just don't want to go around like a clown wearing the red with whites because you
yeah.
would look like a clown on me. That's,
I'm a little bit weird with red colored shoes as well, because you basically have to wear white pants. Which, how can I do that after Labor Day? It's coming soon. But no, I'm excited about the entire launch, to be fair.
Mateusz will get you dressed up. He's the resident fashion expert over here. And yeah, see, he says all that matters is the long sleeves are back. Very against long sleeves personally to wear during a game. But that's a different story altogether. We're gonna hold on. What was going on? Let's go back to this. Living in Canada at work right now. Well, undercover. That's okay. But Liverpool needs to up the bids. I want Isak on ASAP. See, that's interesting because I do want to get to that. So let's get to that.
Let's go to it. If you ask,
so the first bid is rejected. We'll go back to because I was going to talk about the numbers and stuff. We'll go back to the jerseys and stuff like that at the end. But let's get to this since he brought it up, the whole Isak thing. Because interesting, he says that he wants Isak on ASAP. Because there's a lot of like conflicting reports I get from like that end of the, like I don't know if it's people who are for Newcastle saying like, no, the seniors are trying to bring him back and stuff like that. Whereas you also read that players are kind of sick of the ordeal. They want this resolved ASAP. And I think a lot of their fans want it resolved ASAP. I think if Isak goes back right now and scores a couple of goals, all will be forgotten. But do you think, especially with the team, I mean, there are probably fans like in the audience right now, but do you think where the team is right now, or do they care as long as when he comes back, he bangs in a couple of goals and they can have their targets man back?
I definitely think that there is a divide within their dressing room. So it's a two-parter. The professionals in that room understand that he's a player. He's a friend, and I think players usually side with other players on the fact that it's a business, and they understand that in 2 years' time they may have an opportunity to go to Real Madrid or Barcelona. So Bruno Guimaraes, who is the captain of the club, is going to say the right things to the media, but also try to keep the player there for the fact that he wants to win too, and they know that having Isak in their side, integrated and happy, makes them a better football team.
Yes,
but if there's smoke to the rumors that he was toyed with, shopped to Chelsea and Arsenal last summer because of PSR issues, promised he'd get a new contract, not given a new contract, told the club he wanted to leave as early as last March, planned to leave in the summer, yet then they qualified for Champions League and said, nah, we're not sure we're going to let you leave now after kind of having these conversations. Then setting an astronomical price tag of, I think the original price was 130. And then as soon as Liverpool started to say, well, we might go to 130, it was like, well, now it's 150, 200.
Yeah.
Yet they can't increase his salary to be commensurate to a person who's worth 200 million. So I feel like, once again, I said it Monday night, Newcastle has messed this up from a leadership standpoint from day one. And I think that's because they don't have an actual leader there outside of Eddie Howe. And he's a head coach. And I think in today's world, we've learned watching Arsene Wenger, you can't do both jobs and do them well. And Eddie Howe's showing you right now how to do them both mediocrely.
To be fair, Eddie Howe can't even do the other job by himself. The other dude always has to be in the side pocket. So there is that. But
great point.
Even in the box, he's like, I don't want to stand here by myself. Come stand next to me. And stuff. But I don't know if they were hoping that, hey, if we make it to the Champions League, we might be able to convince him. It almost feels like Newcastle all along felt, hey, if we have a good season, if things are going well, we win a trophy, which they did. And, playing well, looking good, made it to the Champions League. I don't know if Newcastle was hoping that they can kind of convince him. And maybe they thought, hey, we'll get some reinforcements too. And it'll be a great situation for him to stay in. It just feels like the whole thought was, he's saying that, but if we get this really nice, he'll want to stay kind of a deal. Well, first of all, I mean, yeah, they made it to Champions League and got the trophy, but then afterwards, they couldn't get anybody across. They still can't. I mean, if Šeško is really going to pick, I don't know if it's official yet, but I know the last thing I read yesterday was that he's leaning more towards United than Newcastle, which by itself is a kick in the balls if somebody's picking United over you the way things are. But I know money talks and stuff. But Newcastle will have a lot of money. So it can't be just a money talks kind of a thing, because Newcastle will have a ton of money from this deal alone. And they were supposedly fine. They didn't have to sell to buy and all that kind of stuff. Hence, they were bidding on a bunch of people. But I think at the end of the day, it's odd that we didn't hear anything from Isak all along, right? All summer, we didn't hear anything. And that's why everybody was like, oh, if he really wants it, he'll force a way out. I don't know. Do you think he was told, yeah, like you'll be able to, we're working on it, so you're going to go somewhere? So he's laying low and saying, oh, you guys do what you got to do? Or like suddenly his head really did get turned and saw that as a possibility? Maybe he had given up himself.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think there was confusion between him and the leadership team. But again, he had these conversations with two different iterations of people. The prior interim sporting director, who's no longer there.
Yep.
The next sporting director who came in that got relieved of their duties. And maybe now this new conversation has happened with their newest CEO that they appointed. But ultimately, the owners got involved. And when the owners came in, their emotional connection to everything and not the business, I think really just upset them. Look, everything, this was a spiraling, I mean, let's call it what it is. This is a train wreck of a summer. They lost out on Trafford. They end up with Ramsdale. They lost out on João Pedro. They lost out on Liam Delap. They've missed out on Ekitike. They're struggling to even get conversation with Ollie Watkins. They've kind of gone down now where they're talking maybe, Muniz at Fulham, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Like they're in.
That's the bottom of the barrel.
That's what I mean. They're in a really, really tough spot. I mean, the Sesko thing is interesting to me. I still don't think it's dead. The reports are they're still in a chance for it. Maybe they go the Kolo Muani. I never pronounce his name right. The guy who's on loan from PSG. Like, I think there are still players out there for them to find. And I think the last one today, they were linked with Woltermann, the young German that's at either Stuttgart or Mainz or one of those smaller clubs.
But let's face it, none of those guys are, now they're trying to make it like an attractive possibility and stuff like that, and potentially can be a better player. Like that's impossible to know until they get going over here. But ultimately, like going into the transfer season, the names that were the hot names, that if they got him instead of Isak, I think, they'll be like, yeah, that's fine because we got this guy instead. All those guys are already gone.
I think that ends with Sesko. I think, at one point, Sesko was higher on Arsenal's list than Gyökeres. And I still in my heart, believe Arteta wanted him. But the powers that be went with Gyökeres because it was cheaper. And I think Leipzig, as we've learned at Liverpool, are not an easy club to deal with. And I think that's why United and Newcastle have struggled so far. All Newcastle needs is Sesko to say, I will come if you finish the deal. And I believe that will expedite the Liverpool bid being accepted. So they have enough money because Leipzig likes their money up front. And hey, how nice would it be for Jurgen Klopp to help, make sure that young lad doesn't end up at Manchester and the other young lad ends up at Liverpool.
I mean, first of all, could potentially save his career. And I don't know, like they're suddenly all big on Højlund again because he scored a couple of preseason games. So I don't know if they'll be. I just feel like United would be. They're trying to do this thing where like we're sensible spending and stuff. So I think they would be a lot more harder to deal with. They would haggle a bit more. This is not the United of like last season because they haven't unloaded anybody that they want to unload either. That's another thing. So they are potentially stuck with some of these people that they were hoping to generate funds from, like Anthony and Garnacho and stuff like that. And mind you, so everybody knows that United was hoping to get funds from them. That's probably why they can't sell them, because everybody's waiting to the last minute when United is like really desperate over here to move those guys. But I think at the end of the day, it's a matter of Newcastle coming in, maybe overpaying a little bit, but they can afford it if they complete this deal. So obviously the initial bid was going to be rejected because the last thing Newcastle wants to do is look like they're caving in. But we had talked about how this could potentially drag the entire August, so he doesn't play against Newcastle in match day 2 a couple of occasions. it's looking like it can be resolved a lot sooner, doesn't it? With the bids already flying in.
Yeah, I know I made that comment a few times in Discord and then again on Monday night. It could still happen. I wouldn't be shocked if they just press it out even to like middle to end of next week. So it's closer to the Charity Shield, and then he doesn't get the training sessions, and maybe they feel like there's less of a chance he's available. There's some reports out there that they believe that the deal is pretty much done. Like it's agreed in principle. They just are going to do the PR game back and forth a few times so they can save some face, make it look like they won the negotiation. If reports,
because you don't want to make it look like Liverpool just came in and be like, here, we'll take him. Here's the check.
2 weeks ago, all the Gordy podcasts were out there literally jumping on, we're going to sign Ekitike and get Isak. You guys are absolute fools. Then it was, we talked to Liverpool into spending all that money for Ekitike, and now we're going to keep Isak. Then it was, he's never leaving. He's not going. It's 200 million or we don't even talk. All of a sudden it's, we're waiting for Liverpool to bid so we can finalize a striker for, close the deal for someone else. If the bid was 120, it probably wasn't on their terms. The add-ons might have been inflated. There's reports now that there's a report coming out that Liverpool is willing to go basically to 130 plus 10 to 15 in add-ons where they get 80 up front. If they're getting 80 up front, that screams to me they know how much they need to deposit to RB Leipzig to get Sesko over the line. And this is starting to, and then they get 50 supposedly next year, and they're paid off in 2 installments. And this will allow 140 million amortized over a 5-year contract would allow Newcastle United over the next 3 years to spend 300 million a year in PSR money, in wages and salary. That is their Coutinho war chest. That allows them to compete legally with Daddy Warbucks owners who can afford it. So maybe next year they say, if we can get back in Champions League, we offer 180 million for Dembele and we get him out of PSG. Or we go sign.
But as Newcastle, do you think, especially after what happened this summer, like it's not like you couldn't get these people across the line because you were not paying or you didn't have the money.
They didn't offer a player more than 135,000 a week in wages. Not one that they tried.
But then you're saying they would have to overpay next season just to be able to get him across the line.
But that's what, let's be real. Most people think that's what's happening right now. The reason Liverpool is able to secure all these players is because they have a high stature. But why can United secure these players? Because they're paying 200,000 in wages over a 5-6 year period. Chelsea gets these guys on 225 in wages. I think the wage structure is hurting Newcastle as much as the place in which they live. You got to get a couple big players in. And I think it's going to take overpaying. Like we all were hot on Alvarez. What if Atletico Madrid makes Alvarez available next year and they offer him 250,000 in wages and give Atletico Madrid 125 million? If you got Alvarez and you have Gordon and you still have Alanga, you have Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, like you buy Adam Wharton. You're the club in England that gets Adam Wharton, or you're the club in England that gets a big center back.
Risky business, though, isn't it? Because if you, not that they have any control. It's not like they decided to do it this way, but they would rather not have done it this way. But you're off of your hottest season in decades. Obviously, winning a trophy, going to the Champions League and stuff like that. So you would want to build on that because there's no guarantees that next season you will be in the Champions League. And that's a huge thing.
But if you don't sell Isak, there is a guarantee that you will once again have PSR problems next year.
Yes. I don't think that's what I mean. Like a lot of them, and going back to, what their podcasts were saying and stuff, a lot of that was based on the fact that there was nothing coming out of Isak. Like it sounded like he's just happy to be there kind of a deal. And I think he was just patiently waiting for them to resolve it. And once he saw that, hey, this is not going anywhere, is when he started getting vocal. He was missing in action. It was like, where's Waldo and where is Isak? And now he's training in. Why is he training over there? Aside from the weather being nicer in Spain, I don't know why he's training in Spain and not. It's not like Newcastle totally booted him out, did they? Out of like can't he practice in the next pitch over? I didn't understand why he's like, yes, see, there you go. Everybody's picking up on your. Let's talk about this. I think KG was asking about it earlier and kind of couldn't get to it, but let's get to it now. Honestly, if we just did this and spent 130, 140, I will be a lot more on edge and nervous about the whole ordeal just because of putting all your eggs in that basket thing, given his injury history that KG is talking about. I think the presence of Ekitike eases that concern in two ways. One, you don't have to play him all the time. It gives him, less minutes. Two, if he does get injured, you do have Ekitike. And I guess I'll throw a 3 in there. Slot has shown that he can manage players with injury histories a lot better. Where are you at with that, price tag versus injury history?
I'm 100% on board with you that Ekitike's signing alleviates some of the struggle that I had spending this much money on one player who has had an injury record in the past. And when KG asked that, I brought it up over here just so I could kind of actually get numbers right. He's missed 2 games and 9 total days in calendar year 2025 so far. One of those matches, by the way, was the one at the end of the season against Liverpool, which felt a lot like right when the smoke was happening that he was coming here. It felt a little bit like maybe he doesn't need to play in this match. They don't need to see him. He doesn't need to.
And that was before the final, wasn't it?
Correct.
Well, we kind of felt like, they're saying him for the final. They don't want to show all their cards, kind of a deal.
It was early March. He missed 1 match there. He missed 1 match with a hamstring tweak in January. He did miss 7 matches in September to October of 24, but we're talking there. That's a broken toe. That can happen to any footballer. And if it happens, you don't play, right? You have a broken toe. You're usually not playing. So the season of real concern for me was the, first season where he missed 100 days, his first full year at Newcastle with the thigh problem. He missed 18 total matches for club and country. And then the following season, he does have the 2 groin injuries. They cost him about a month at 2 times. And he misses 12 total matches, but 5 of them are for Sweden. So when you look at that, he's missed a considerable amount of matches. I'm not going to use the man's name because he's not with us any longer, but we've had other players at the club that have had longer bouts of consistent injury record. And I think we've always supported that as long as the physios believe that he's fit and healthy. I think Liverpool's style, Arnslot's way he plays, and more importantly, the way that the team sets up and the depth quashes and quells a lot of those injury concerns for me personally. But this might be, I did a podcast for 2 hours or a watch along where I spent half of it with Jamie. So I have such a glass so full. It's not half full.
Yeah,
this glass is overflowing.
Yes, it's a little contagious. To the point where he wants to do a breakdance. Only in your head, it's epic, by the way, Jamie. That's all I gotta say. Ozan says, Ozan, what do you think, man? I am too cool for names on the back, actually. That is correct. I am too cool for that. Honestly, because it's just experience, right? Like whoever you trust that's going to be there for the long term or is going to retire and stuff like that. Sometimes the end is not great and stuff. The front is always great. It's the club. So I never put names on the back. And this is like, going back to like childhood years, like with Fenerbahce, over the decades. I don't think the funny thing is, like, for example, we bought Layla a jersey when she was, I can't remember how old she was, like maybe 8, 9, 10 or something like that. And she loved Coutinho, like, how he played and kind of like they are like the same stature, like little guy, so she loves Coutinho. So we bought her a Coutinho jersey and we know how that ended up. So that's why I never put names on the back. It's always just front only. It's me in it. What else do you need?
I do want to just let Jamie know, by full disclosure for the crazy breakdancing chat. And I know Sir Z would be big on this because of his son's love for breakdancing and the competitive nature of it. There is no question, Jamie, that this skinny guinea that was born in 1978 and grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts, absolutely had ripped up pieces of cardboard out in the street and danced with kids. Like, this is early 80s. I'm talking like Breakin' is at its height, and then before you even get Breakin' 2. So yes, definitely some Turbo and Ozone flair. And I don't know that I could do any breakdancing in 2025 without breaking my 47-year-old
Hold
bones.
on a
But yes,
second.
Jamie, you are spot on.
I think we just found a new item for the silent auction is all I'm thinking. Because that's the only thing that comes to my mind over here. For a certain amounts, maybe we'll put that up for auction and you can kind of like record a TikTok of you breakdancing. Yes, let it be said, let it be done. I'll list it right away as we're talking in the background over here. Or maybe even better, at Carragher's, if we reach a certain amount, you'll get all the growth.
We'll get somebody out there to actually do karaoke and do one of the old school hip hop songs, and then I'll recreate the crazy Australian chick from the Olympics. How does that sound?
Actually, that sounds pretty good. If you reach a certain amount in the GoFundMe or something like that, I'll be king of that. Speaking of, by the way, got this. You know, when you get this video from Jamie, we are mighty close to the whole thing over here.
Another shout out after the shout out I gave them last year to the American Scouser, who are raising money for the 23 Foundation yet again. Thank you, big thanks for that. I think it's the 24-hour podathon again. So obviously went so well last year that you'd have another crack at it as well. So thanks a lot. Thanks for all your support. I'm sure it'll go well, and hopefully I'll be doing this video again next year. All the best.
Thank you, Jamie.
If we're alive, he will do the third video hopefully next year, because we are planning on making this an annual ordeal over here. But we do still have 11 hours left who are looking for sponsors. So 13 down, 11 to go, with about almost a week to go. So we really need to get going over here. Get a hold of your supporter clubs, groups, pub, whatever it might be, and get us some sponsors anywhere from $100 to $500. Most of the personals have been around like the 100, 150 range. Most of the supporter clubs have been like 200 and up, depends on like their size and stuff like that. So in honor of the new Kiss, Gali puts on a jump and slide. Yes, I did ask this actually earlier, if he had the matching bottom, because that would be the kicker over there. But are we going to bring like we were talking about this with Angie. We will definitely have the shirts that we are, actually, we're going to have some shirts to be able to kind of sell at the events as well. But we'll definitely be wearing those shirts. But last year we had to do costume changes. So are you going to bring like a stack of jerseys over there to Carragher's where we do like costume changes throughout the day?
I thought about this, but you know, Paul and I, being the cheap people that we are, we only, and because we're not bringing anybody else with us, we only have a hotel for Friday night, and then Paul has one for Sunday night, I believe. So neither of us actually booked a room for Saturday evening, knowing we will be locked in a room overnight anyway. So that would mean that whatever I bring, I have to think about the fact that I have to have all of that with me for 24 hours in this bar. So I'm a little bit thinking to myself, I'll have a shirt or two maybe, but most likely we won't be doing the quick changes as we did last year, as it is not as easy to just walk off camera. The other thing is, I'm not sure anyone needs to see me top off, top on.
Well, I mean, I'm hoping you do it behind the camera.
But even behind the camera, there will still be people in the bar, and I'm not sure they need to see that either. They're like, hey.
I know they do serve food. They do serve.
Someone tell that young man to put his shirt back on. Someone tell that young man put his shirt on.
Yeah, it might be against like food serving code and stuff like that. First of all, for us to
have Bickler's
no
mustache. Bickler's mustache is definitely against the food serving code.
Ozan says the bar will be open. No, actually, they're taking even a bigger risk, because that would be a big risk, but they're taking even a bigger risk of locking us in and leaving us the bar, which is really dangerous. Especially when you're people with if you give me the bar for free, I'll be passed out by like 3 a.m. probably anyway, because I'll get sleepy or drunk or both, whatever. But with these two guys, I'm gonna have to kind of like board them off of the bar probably in the middle of the night. But yes, they are gonna be locking us in over there, which is really dangerous by itself, but it should be it should be interesting. So we can do changes throughout the night. But I'll bring. Bickler says he'll have one shirt. It'll be the buy he wants. I'll bring you a shirt, man. I'll bring you the shirt that has us in front. Maybe I'll get you the one where Gally is holding the sign that says, give me word shirt, which will have number 7 on the back. So the numbers are announced for all those people going ape shit because they can't buy a jersey because they don't know what the number to put on the back. And I think this is why it's announced now. So you can put the number on the back on the new Adidas jersey and stuff like that. Do you care is the thing? Because I personally didn't. I mean, it's like, oh, cool, he has that, and then move on kind of a deal. But especially now that these numbers are really weird. Neoni's got 42. Frimpong 30. Amardashvili got 25. Ekitike is with the 22. Connor Bradley's got the 12. Florian Wirtz 7. Karkez got 6.
So,
do you get names on the back, by the way, on the jerseys?
So I used to, when I first started buying them, I got a couple. My first jersey that I had when I was younger, I can't even remember. I think it was John Barnes. I was like a young guy, and I got a John Barnes jersey, and I absolutely loved it. That one was probably just like Sir Z said. It had the letters this big because I was like a 14-year-old who bought an 8-year-old's jersey because it would fit me. But I got my first one I bought again in like 2011 was actually a Jamie Carragher jersey. And I still have it, and it's kind of falling apart. And the reason I went with Carragher was he had like 2 or 3 years left in his career, and it was clear he was going to finish it with Liverpool. A couple guys I work with, one bought me a Steven Gerrard jersey, but I, like you, I think I ended up with one with Coutinho on it, one with Sturridge on it. And like before, I think I had a Suarez one. And before I knew it, I was like, these guys just fucking leave as soon as I get their jersey. And then sometimes I don't even want to wear them again because they're gone. So I decided a few years back. So I think I own 2 or 3 of the Nikes, never had a name put on them. Someone asked me if I would get Wirtz put on it just because it's such a big signing or get one. I don't think I'll do the name again. I kind of feel like that should be reserved for kids, and the adults just kind of wear it without the names. But I don't judge people. If you like having names on your shirts and paying another $45 for a shirt that already costs too much.
What if you put your name and a number on the back?
I kind of feel like if this almost goes back to my stop begging for jerseys. It's kind of like 2 ways to get one: go to the club shop and buy it, or make the effing team. I feel like to get my name on the back of the jersey, I probably should make the club.
Well, good luck with that. There's no hope in that. Bickler says, imagine leaving us with your cleaning staff. I envisioned 4 a.m, Bickler behind the bar having the cleaning staff do shots or something like that. There's not going to be a lot of cleaning done over there. He's going to be constantly pouring over there. But no names on the back, and I really don't. I mean, I would think there will be a lot of Wirtz jerseys going around with the number 7, and that's what everybody was kind of like waiting for, hoping on, and stuff like that. But it's like they're out, so you guys can go buy jerseys, is basically what it boils down to.
The one thing that's a little surprising, and I think is also telling, I do think it is important that they officially announced that Trey Neoni got a more realistic squad number that you'd see in an adult senior setup. Like, I almost feel like them taking the 90 and moving that to 42 brings him closer down. No, but I think they absolutely told Bradley, even if Bradley said, like, Klopp used to let people wear whatever he wanted, which is why they never made Trent change the number, where Real Madrid won't let you wear a number over 20. It might be Spanish rules, or 40 or whatever it is. But Klopp would come out and say, I could care less about the numbers. If someone wanted to wear 99, they could. I think Slot is a little different with that. And I think they're like, hey, Connor, you are going to be a big part of this squad, and we're giving you number 12. You're not going to wear 84. You're in contention to be our starting right back. They don't wear those numbers. And I think the next shoe that will drop is, I think they're waiting, because my bet is I do believe they asked Rio Ingamoa what number he'd like. And my gut tells me he might like a number that might be on the back of a player who's currently playing at the club still. And they may wait. And because I think he'll get another number before the end of the summer as well. I do not think we will see a kid wearing 82 in the Premier League, even for a spot start in the League Cup next year.
A wide receiver number. Yeah, I don't know. Like, depends on. I mean, I don't know. Like switching to 42 on this. I mean, how can 42 have a meaning for him, right? Like, it'd be one thing if it's like that's what I was wearing in the youth team or something like that growing up, but I'm sure he wasn't wearing 42 in the youth team either. So, and obviously they're not gonna get anything. You know, Neoni's not gonna get anything under like 11. So he's gonna have to get stuck with whatever is there. Yeah, I found that odd actually. Personally, I know what you mean. And that could partially be true, but it's not like 42 looks. I guess anything looks normal now. In the past, you know, like when you saw somebody like that, you'd be like, "What the hell?" kind of a deal. But what is he wearing now? He's wearing 82 right now, Rio.
He's wearing 82, and I totally understand what people say when they say he's 16. He can wait a few years. He's
He's going to be
16, and
17
they
in less
allow
than a month. Jamie, come on,
he,
give the kid a break.
he's 16, and they allowed him to go on a international tour and change his name from his last name to Rio. They didn't allow Rio on the back of his shirt without an intention of him being kind of elevated a little bit in the senior squad eyes. I don't disagree. He's only 16, 17, but I do think he'll have a new number before the season starts. And I don't know why. I just have this hunch that he probably eyes either 19 or 14. If one of, or even 21, maybe from Simicast, if one of those numbers becomes available, I think he will seriously consider.
Let's hope it's 21. Former players wearing 42 were Bobby Clark and Nabil El-Zhar. Yeah, yes. That's why I don't think he was like, I want 42. But yeah, I don't know. I don't put a lot of stock in those, to be honest with you. Back in the day, it was a whole different story. But it's totally different now. Back in the day, you could go by where he's playing on the pitch by looking at the dude's number. Yep. Now it's like totally clueless as to what they're going to be doing. Meanwhile, the only thing that still concerns me, maybe, is the fact that the Gahey thing has not been finalized, if it's going to be finalized, because I do still think there's a huge hole over there at center back, and I'm sure the club thinks so as well. Do you see that happening soon? Because it's almost like way too quiet. We all thought when the replacement is signed for Palace, they would go with. I mean, are they kind of trying to see how they finalize this Isak thing first? I would hope that they're independent, because I honestly think that's, I don't want to say more important, but just as important. Let's go that way.
Neither of the Diamandi deal is not done with Palace, so they haven't signed official, an actual. Yeah. They're also in for another one now, I think, from Inter Milan, an Italian defender, that Zirkic or something, that they're looking at. So I still think the Gahey one will happen. I really believe they've earmarked Gahey as the player that they're most interested in. I just think they expect that price to come down, and they think the later in the window it goes. I do think they're playing a dangerous game of chicken. But then they're linking them to the young Italian center back. That's, I forget which Italian club he's at as well. I do think they'll get it done, but they're not going to just jump for anyone. I think they will get Gahey. I just think it'll be later in the window, and he'll probably make his appearance like early rounds of the Champions League or something along that line. I don't think he plays the first 2-3 weeks of the season, because you're playing once a week at that point, and your thought is you're playing Konate and Virgil 90-90-90 either way through the Arsenal match, in my opinion.
Yeah, easily, especially when you're doing once a week. I was just looking at that. The Almanda did play. They had the Portuguese, like their Super Cup, like league winner, cup winner, kind of a thing going. And he did play for Sporting yesterday. So it looks like he played 70 minutes. So it's not like, oh, they're all waiting for him to be moved on or anything like that. That could be them playing, hard to get. I mean, Bickler is saying whether Palace will budge or whether we think it's worth the wait and get him on a free, which sounds great, but you still have to get somebody over here in this rotation. I feel like we're kind of like taking it for granted now that Konate is a healthy dude 24/7, but we forget that last season was the first season for that to happen.
Palace also did not play him in the first of their first 2 preseason friendlies, which were both basically full squads. Palace also hasn't made any acquisitions to this point. So it'll be interesting to see. I still feel like this Isak thing now became priority number 1. They need to get that sorted. Then I think they do all their outgoings. And then I think once that's settled, and let's not kid ourselves, there might be some negotiations, like maybe Palace is interested in Ben Doak, and we're literally doing the diddle we did with Kwanzaa and Verts. 2 separate deals will be announced at 2 separate times, negotiated on one phone call.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. A lot of that seems to be the new norm over here, because people are having to do a lot of those deals in that way for like PSR reasons and accounting reasons and stuff like that. But I would think the handshakes are being done initially and then announced slowly. I mean, the Kwanzaa thing was a little bit too obvious. Maybe people should make it less obvious, but that was pretty darn obvious how that went down over there. But Tony says, I hope with the attention, the Isak deal behind the scenes, we're working on the center back issue. Yeah, that's my thing too, because like you say, everybody is in this mode where they assume Konate is going to be healthy. But I mean, technically, we're down to 3, and I'm not too big on this. I can see Gravenberg back there. I was talking to, I think it was on the Wednesday show where we're talking with John. I can see that as a scenario where you do in some games at home, you put Gravenberg as your center back, and then you get to still play Maka, Szoboszlai, and Wirtz in midfield or something like that. And so you have actually more attacking players and players who can build from the back better with the ball, can push up and stuff like that, because Gravenberg can be the new Matip kind of a deal. But you don't want to do that on a consistent basis. And having seen the struggles we've had in the preseason, we were talking about it with Bickler when we were watching the game on Wednesday too. The set pieces really worry me, where we give up headers, a lot of free headers on every freaking set piece. So the last thing you want is to replace your center back with a midfielder too, and you're only going to get worse because now you have like a bunch of short guys. You're losing a lot of height as well. So I do hope they seal that deal and not kind of like put all their eggs on the Konate. I mean, on Konate, I guess, being healthy, because that could have been a one-off, man. We kind of assumed it wasn't, but that could have been a one-off. We're working all fronts. Konate deal, Isak, center back options. Isak is just obvious. Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to talk about that one because it's like, I mean, even the freaking Turkish papers are talking about the Isak deal, regularly updating, because it's, we're in it, but if you kind of take yourself out of it and look around, it's probably in terms of like the transfer market of the sport itself, is the biggest deal going on right now this summer. Probably Wirtz was the one before, and now it's
it was. I think Wirtz was, and we thought, no way, even if Isak moves, it won't be bigger than Florian Wirtz picking Liverpool over. But I think the way in which they went about this, the way in which Newcastle dug in, that makes it a bigger story across Europe. It allows for more articles to be written. It allows for Fabrizio to release more tweets saying the exact same thing he said 2 hours before, and then quoting himself. I love now he's not even stealing content from other creators. He just steals from himself, rewords, repackages, and hits publish.
Reported by me, contradicted by me.
Previously reported by me and pinned on my tweets by me. No, I do think there is a big... I think this will be the biggest transfer, not just because it's a British record fee. I think because it's a club that dug in, it still shows the pulling power of the larger clubs and kind of that pecking order of hierarchy that happens. And listen, to be fair, I also think we were critical of Chelsea's maneuvering of the PSR system. And we were critical of the rules because it allowed Chelsea to bend them by like selling a parking lot to themselves and selling their women's team to themselves and 9-year contracts, right? If we're going to be critical of that, we also should say that this transfer does, and this window of City, Arsenal, and Liverpool really dominating what the Premier League business is being done in Chelsea, the top 4 teams, it is starting to shed light where I can understand where a Newcastle fan, a Bournemouth fan, a Burnley fan, and not Burnley, but a Brighton fan says to themselves, Aston Villa, if these rules stay this way, their revenue is always going to be so high. They're always going to be able to spend. We're never going to meet their revenue. Like last year was a special year, and it feels like it's changing. So few clubs in the Premier League are doing business right now outside of the top 4, and the top 4 have spent $1.5 billion, which is just it makes me nervous. We're moving back into the world of the big 4 and the other 16. And I don't know that's what the Premier League wanted, but no, to everyone, it's what all those clubs who wanted to start a Super League wanted. and they
I was
got
gonna
it. We just
say,
call it
bring
the
on the
Champions
Super
League.
League, because that's what is. Yeah, it's been an odd off season where other clubs are looking like acting like they just got recently promoted to Premier League. I'm just getting that vibe, like a lot of like 12 million deals, 50 million deals that are like under the radar, rolling the dice, hoping they can turn it into, I don't know, the next Caicedo or next, whoever it might be that they're going to cash in on by selling him for like 60, 70, 80 to one of the big boys. So rolling the dice on a lot of 12, 15 millions. And some will hit, some won't. But yeah, it's odd that I think another thing with the Isak thing is everybody's kind of waiting on the domino effect that this is going to cause, especially if they're able to, if they don't get Sesko, because I don't think that causes any domino effect. Unless United goes after somebody else like Watkins, and then it just kind of like keeps like snowballing from there. But everybody's kind of like waiting for like what's gonna come out of this once the dominoes start falling and stuff. But all right, Master of Music, have no plans to bid again for Isak this window. Really? Is this must be new? Because I had just heard about Liverpool will not follow with second offer.
It does say that in some places, and I will say Ben Jacobs has been on a lot of this. He's gotten a lot of things right. This feels more like a bluff, in my opinion. Like, to see whether it's coming out from the Newcastle camp. Liverpool wouldn't make this statement. Ben Jacobs isn't getting this out of Liverpool an hour after a bid's rejected him, or 2 hours after a bid's rejected, in my opinion. So this feels like it would be more seen as it coming from the Newcastle side in order to see if they can get Isak to budge on accepting the improved terms, the new contract that has a release clause for next year. Can we put this bleep back in the horse, or do we have to accept the next bid? And I think what we're going to see here is in an hour, we're going to hear conflicting reports. There might be another bid coming, and then there'll be more reports saying, and Isak has made it clear to Newcastle he has no intention to play and will go on strike until January if he is not, transferred to Liverpool in this window. This feels like posturing on all sides again.
Yeah, I mean, because I saw this, what Jamie's talking about before I went on air. That's what I saw. The fact that, they're already preparing the second bid that's going to be slightly improved. And I kind of took that as Newcastle is playing a little hard to get, but they're going to sell anyway. But the key thing of that is, I think it could even be coming from Liverpool, I think, because it says, as it stands, but it will not stand the same way, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, where if you guys going to have those kind of expectations, yeah, we're not doing another thing. But I think, if Newcastle says, well, we'll agree to this, and if it's like a payment thing or whatever, then it will be, I think, kind of changing. I think it is posturing. It's kind of like negotiations at this stage over here. It feels like, yeah, the personal terms are agreed. So, which doesn't necessarily guarantee anything, but it just feels like that's alone. And this whole, how this thing is going right now, if he was in camp practicing and stuff, I think I will look at it a total different way. But him running by himself on a pitch in freaking Spain kind of says he's way too far, literally and physically, to be able to be back a part of this team again anytime soon. Do you really want your 130, $150 million assets causing you trouble instead of winning you games? Because that's what it's going to be. Because if this guy comes back to camp, the questions are going to be nothing but. The other players are going to get nothing but. And I'm assuming if some of these guys in the Newcastle locker room want this deal over with, it's because they don't want to face the questions. I mean, ask any Liverpool player. They were probably sick and tired of being asked about Mo, Van Dijk, and Trent last season. And no club wants to constantly over and over go over that.
We had the Newcastle supporter in our chat earlier saying, up your bid, we want this thing done.
Yeah.
Now, granted, this is a Newcastle supporter here, in North America, living in Canada. No, doesn't discredit them any more than the ones living, in Newcastle. But we've heard similar things from other Newcastle supporters online. We've heard things that they're calling him a rat. As I saw one, someone get the Swedish rat out of here as fast as possible. And then it was a Liverpool supporter retweeted it and was like, we'll take that Swedish rat.
Yeah.
Like, I think it will happen. I think this is absolutely posturing by one of the sides to get this done.
Master Music says he has to pull out Antonio Brown. God, let's hope we don't go NFL wide receiver route on freaking anything. Because that's I will not be able to handle in this freaking sport. Because yeah, anything wide receiver NFL, they can have it. But I think the fact that this is what has changed the tide, and that's what we've been talking about, like Isak changing his tune and making it clear he wants out, agreeing with terms and stuff like that is what's changed this entire story to. I mean, what, 3 weeks ago almost, when we were talking about it. And the whole Ekitike thing makes the whole deal, at least for me, like if it happens, it happens. I'm not going to be devastated, Gally, if the Isak thing does not happen and they're like, you know what, that's fine. You can rot till January or whatever. I'm not going to be too bothered that we didn't get him just because we did get Ekitike. And I think if that happens, Nunez probably stays as Ekitike's backup, which I'm not totally against. I just don't want him penciled in as your center forward, but as a backup, I think I can live with that.
Yeah, it could be the case. I mean, I know there are reports out there now that Liverpool would even would consider a loan option as long as there was a guarantee or obligation to buy at a certain price that they negotiate in the process. Feels to me like he still moves on, but we'll see. I wouldn't have a problem with him staying as the backup, though I will pump the brakes on the fact that I do think Ekitike is going to need time to bed in. And if he stays as a backup, we're going to see an awful lot of Nunez, both from the substitute bench and in starts. Because if we want to achieve the things we're going to achieve, there's a lot of minutes between now and January, especially with AFCON. And now reports are that no one in Italy will come even to 10 million for Chiesa. So he's looking at loan options in the Premier League to like Fulham, and some of the smaller clubs that are interested in potentially taking him on loan with an obligation to buy. So if Chiesa goes, I think you absolutely need to keep Nunez if you don't sign Isak, or you're going to have to go sign another player. I keep saying it. Malik Fofana is still there, people. Just go sign Malik Fofana, please. Do me a favor.
I mean, that would be a nice touch. And yes, we were laughing about that center back partnership with Bickler when we were watching. But to be fair, we did play a lot better in the second half, so maybe there's something there. And yeah, could you get any shorter on the pitch, by the way, by having Endo and Costas as your center backs? Even with the hairdo, Costas is not center back material. I don't think. I mean, a lot of people are talking about like Robertson and stuff. I think these are just preseason ordeals where they're like, yeah, he can play over there and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, he's thrown around. I know that Everton thing looked imminent, but it didn't happen. It could be a kind of a ordeal where he's waiting to see what his options before he commits. But yeah, I mean, we're approaching the season pretty darn fast over here, by the way. We started this transfer window fast, and don't get me wrong, I mean, you already have a squad ready to compete, but we're not ready for the long haul, like you were saying, Gally, like with the match traffic and stuff like that. I don't think the squad is ready for that. But that'll be it for us. I mean, I'm sure he does. That's what I mean. I think like players kind of are waiting to see if there will be other options before they commit to something. If you're Fofana and you're a possibility to go to Liverpool or Everton, you might be like, well, let me see what Liverpool is going to do. Because I feel like, Everton will be there for the rebound either freaking way. He's not going to lose out on the deal. So we'll see what happens. It's a quiet weekend, but then a crazy Monday with a double match and everything like that. So stay tuned to see our kind of broadcast plans. I don't know how many of them we'll be doing. Are we going to do 1 or 2 as watch-alongs and stuff like that? So we'll figure all that out over the weekend. So check out the socials for that. Have a nice, quiet weekend. Go put on your Adidas tracksuits and go shopping now that the numbers are announced and all that kind of crap. But have an awesome weekend, everybody. And we'll see you guys bright and early Monday morning. Take care.